It was a Sunday morning like many others in my life as a preacher. My church, the largest in Montgomery, Alabama, was filled with worshipers. They called me pastor, and I had built a solid reputation as a man of God. My sermons were powerful, touching the hearts of the people, and many considered me a beacon of light in a community often troubled by difficulties and sins. As I spoke, a dull pain began to spread through my chest. It felt like something heavy was pressing down on me, but I tried to ignore it. I had to finish the sermon. I had to stay in control. However, the pain quickly intensified, and before I knew it, I collapsed to the ground under the shocked gaze of my congregation. I heard a scream, then darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in my church. I found myself in a dark and cold place, a stone corridor that seemed endless. The air was thick, heavy, and a sense of terror enveloped me. I tried to move, but my limbs felt numb, as if my body no longer responded to the commands of my mind. Then I saw him. A tall man, dressed in a white robe, appeared before me. His presence was imposing, and a pale light emanated from his body, contrasting with the surrounding darkness. His expression was serious, almost stern, but there was a calmness in him that made me feel even smaller. "You are dead," he said in a calm but authoritative voice. "And now it is time to face the truth." Those words hit me like a punch in the stomach. Dead? I couldn't be dead. Not like this, not now. I tried to protest, but my voice seemed lost. "Who are you?" I managed to whisper, fear creeping into my heart. "I am a messenger," he replied, "and I am here to show you what you have always ignored, what you chose not to see during your life." The corridor seemed endless, but eventually we arrived at a large iron door. The man pushed it open effortlessly, and what I saw on the other side took my breath away. It was a dark room with a huge mirror at its center. "Look," the man said, pointing to the mirror, "it is time to see your life for what it truly is." Reluctantly, I approached the mirror. What I saw shocked me. It didn't just reflect my face, but my entire existence. The images flashed by like a movie, showing me every action, every sin, every lie I had told. I saw the empty sermons, the betrayals, the moments of weakness hidden behind the mask of a devout preacher. I saw myself betraying my wife, abusing the trust of my congregation, and using my position to satisfy my selfish desires. Every detail was there, exposed without filters. There was no escape, no excuses. "This is your life," said the angel. "Every choice you made, every soul you touched, every sin you hid. Now it is time to face the consequences." The angel's words were like blades piercing my heart. I couldn't deny anything I saw. Every image reminded me how far I had fallen, how distant I was from the preacher I had always pretended to be. The weight of my guilt was unbearable. "Why are you showing me all this?" I asked, tears in my eyes. "Why must I suffer like this?" "Because this is just the beginning," the angel replied. "You must understand what you have done before you can face the true punishment." The walls of the room began to shake, and the mirror dissolved into darkness. I found myself walking with the angel in a landscape that seemed to come from the darkest nightmares. Flames burned in the distance, and the sound of desperate screams filled the air. I knew I was in an evil place, a place from which there was no return. Finally, we reached the center of that hell. A vast lake of fire stretched before us, the high flames licking the dark sky. In the center of the lake, on a throne made of bones, sat a figure shrouded in darkness. I couldn't see its face, but its presence alone was enough to make me tremble with terror. "This is your destiny," said the angel in a firm voice. "You have been a preacher of lies, and now you are here to face the truth." I felt paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I wanted to scream, to beg for mercy, but my voice was gone. All I could feel was the heat of the flames and the crushing weight of my guilt. The angel took me by the arm and dragged me towards the lake. The heat was unbearable. I felt like I was burning alive just by getting close. The flames seemed to have a life of their own, ready to engulf and consume me for eternity. "Please," I managed to whisper, tears streaming down my cheeks. "Give me another chance." I didn't know. I didn't really understand. The angel looked at me, and for a moment I saw a spark of compassion in his eyes. But then he slowly shook his head. "Your actions were deliberate. You chose sin, and now you must face the consequences." The flames licked at my feet and the pain was unbearable. I screamed, tried to resist, but it was all in vain. The angel lifted me and threw me towards the lake, but just as I was about to be swallowed by the flames, everything stopped. The dark figure in the center of the lake stood up, and silence suddenly fell over all of hell. "John," it said, "you led a life of sin, betraying those who trusted you. You used God's name to cover your crimes, and for that, your soul is destined for eternal torment." Every word was a blow to my already broken spirit. I expected the worst, the moment when I would be thrown into the lake of fire, to burn for eternity. And yet as the creature approached, my terror was replaced by a strange resignation. I knew I deserved what was about to happen to me. I had lived a life of hypocrisy and deceit, and now divine justice was about to be served. But instead of throwing me into the lake, the creature stopped. However, it continued, its voice lowering to an almost inaudible whisper. "There is still hope for you." I couldn't believe my ears. Hope? How could there be hope for a corrupted soul like mine? "You have been brought here not only to face your punishment," the creature explained, "but to understand the gravity of your actions. Your fate is not yet sealed. You can still change." Before I could react, I felt a force pulling me back. The hell, the lake of fire, the creature, everything began to fade, dissolving into a blinding light. The heat of the flames was replaced by a piercing cold. And then, darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a hospital bed. The lights were intense, and the monotonous sound of a heart monitor filled the room. A doctor explained to me that I had been clinically dead for a few minutes, but I had miraculously come back to life. Although I was alive, inside me there was a deep void. The memories of the hell I had seen haunted me, and I knew I could no longer ignore what I had experienced. I had to change, but the fear and guilt weighed on me, making every thought an unbearable burden. As soon as I was discharged, I returned to my church. I was determined to do what I knew was right. In front of the congregation, with a trembling voice and a heavy heart, I confessed everything, the sins, the lies, the hypocrisy that had characterized my life. I declared that I could no longer be their pastor, as I was not worthy of leading them. As I spoke, I felt the judgment of the faithful upon me, but I wasn't seeking their approval. It was an act of repentance, the first step towards possible redemption. After that confession, my life changed radically. I left the church and began working with the poor and marginalized, trying to make amends for the wrongs I had done. Every day was a struggle to regain my humanity and to live according to the true teachings I had preached, but never truly followed. Over time, my wife and children began to forgive me, and I found a new purpose in dedicating myself to others. I don't know if I will ever fully redeem myself, but I know I must try. The hell I saw showed me what awaited me if I continued down the wrong path. Now, all I can do is walk in the light and hope that one day, God will find mercy for my soul. Thank you so much for listening to this story all the way to the end. If it resonated with you, if you found a message in these words, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment with your thoughts, and most importantly, share this story with anyone who might find inspiration or a moment of deep reflection in it. The more this story is shared, the more people can be touched by its message. Thank you again for your support, and stay tuned for more stories that I hope will speak to your heart.